Hi, my name's Emily. I'm a freshman living in Strauss. I come from the Chicago suburbs, and my interests include math and swimming and baking and music. So I came from a boarding school. I attended the same boarding school from 10th through 12th grade, and I spent basically all 3 years living with the same person, spending almost all my time with the same person, and she quickly grew to become one of my best friends and someone who I felt knew me better than anyone else during those 3 years. And so coming to Harvard, I think I heard a lot of people say, I'm so excited to leave my high school friends, I'm so excited for the new things that college will give me. But I came into Harvard wishing that I could have just kept the same friends that I had in high school, and I think if I had been given the decision to just continue living with the same people and having the same friends I had in high school, I would have taken that chance. So I guess coming into Harvard, I was holding on to the past a lot, and I was making a lot of unfair comparisons between the people I met here and the people I had known so well back home. And even though I was pretty academic back home, and I think an intense person, all of my friends were not the type of people who even wanted to end up at Harvard. They didn't enter high school thinking that they wanted to attend Harvard. They didn't even apply to Harvard. And so I came in with this perception that the people who end up at Harvard are like intense, professional, like shiny people, and the people I had at home were humble and loving. And so for first semester, I had some trouble with this like incorrect preconception that people at Harvard couldn't be as welcoming, and so that made my transition pretty hard. Also, I knew a lot of people coming into Harvard. I knew a lot of people at MIT as well, and we had been really close in high school, and I think in an attempt to like hold on to my past, I also held on to them and expected them not to change, even though they were changing and I was changing. And so the transition to Harvard was like pretty rough for me, but things have gotten a lot better second semester, and I'm very happy now. I'm happy with who I am, and I'm happy that I'm in a new place and that my life has changed. I sort of accepted myself. Like in college, I thought I might be a different person. There's like a person I wanted to be, and there's a role I wanted Harvard to play in my life. And second semester, I sort of accepted that I wasn't going to be who I planned I would be, and like Harvard wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, but Harvard is still like a really good opportunity, and the people here are still kind and like very intelligent and like wonderful to be with. And so I sort of accepted all of that. I think I haven't done much to do this, but I think that at Harvard there's like a majority voice that is like very outspoken, and at times I think is silencing of other views. I respect the fact that people are so involved in like social issues that they take their opinions like very personally. But I feel like it's sort of an environment where if you disagree with someone, they associate their opinion with their personal identity, and I almost feel like it's hard to disagree with someone here because they'll take it personally, and they'll not only apply like your opinion on one side, they'll like judge you for having one opinion and then apply that to like the rest of the character. Like if you disagree with them fundamentally on something, they'll feel like your other interests and your other opinions are invalid, and I think this is a really dangerous environment to be in because I think it prevents intellectual discussion, and I think it's not entirely rational either. So I'm like hoping to gain the skills to like learn how to express opinions that I have that might not be mainstream, and become like better at talking about social issues that affect me, even though like growing up I never really thought about them. I think one instance that really confused me was when Martin Shkreli came to campus, and I think I disagree with what he's done, and I also think it was a bad move to invite someone who is like banned from Twitter for sexual harassment. Like I think that's like pretty bad, and I think that Martin Shkreli has made decisions that are ethically questionable, although I'm not sure if I can say that, like, if I were in the same position, I wouldn't make the same decisions. So when Martin Shkreli came, I was under the impression that I was like, oh, Martin Shkreli's a bad person, like they shouldn't have invited him. And I have some friends who are like interested in finance, so they were really excited that Martin Shkreli was coming. And I have friends who are really interested in like global health, and they were very upset that he had been invited, and they were planning to protest. And I definitely agree. I think I agree with both parties. Like, Martin Shkreli definitely has some things that we can learn from. Like, he is successful, and even though he's successful in like an ethically questionable way, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn about him. But at the same time, I also agree that if a person disagrees with Martin Shkreli, they should be able to protest the event. But I think something else that I saw was people wanting the event to be shut down, people wanting the protest to be so disruptive that others who wanted to hear Martin Shkreli wouldn't be able to. And I think it's unfair for like one group to determine what another group at Harvard gets to hear. Like, what if I, for like 100%, just wanted to hear what Martin Shkreli had to say? I think it would be unfair for someone else to take that opportunity away from me, especially because maybe people probably go to Harvard for opportunities like this. I think the biggest thing I fear is being unhappy, but then behind that, like having my happiness come at the cost of others. So I think that I've just like seeing others battle with mental illness and also having some struggles with it myself, I've come to realize that like life without happiness is it's just so awful. Like, there's really no meaning to it. There's no reason for you specifically to be living your life. And so happiness is like extremely, extremely important to me. But also, I think at Harvard I've become a lot more aware of the fact that like my happiness has to do with how other people act, and also like my financial stability has to do with like what type of work I choose to pursue and what type of work my parents pursued, and like how those types of work, although they may benefit my family directly, like how different types of work can also negatively impact other people. Sort of like the argument that people should not go into finance because it creates income inequality. Like all of a sudden, just like being faced with the fact that my happiness and my stability comes at the cost of like others, and like having to be aware that like I'm in a privileged position, so I should not only consider my happiness but also like how I can change the way that it makes other people's lives worse. I don't know that much about econ, but I think finance, like a lot of like investment banking or something, or like even proprietary trading, the primary effect is to make the wealthy wealthier, and like people who go into finance might want to consider, including like myself, like not that I want to go into finance, but it's like a possibility, sort of have to consider the fact that like I could be taking my Harvard education and using it to help people who are not wealthy, like help people who are struggling, and maybe that would be a less stable, maybe that would pay less well, like maybe I would have a less stable and luxurious life, but I would be producing like some sort of social output. So I don't think there's anything wrong with picking either choice, but I think it's important to be conscientious of it. I also disagree, like I think I hear a lot of people automatically make assumptions about finance, and I think on one hand, while like finance does create income inequality, like a lot of innovation, like if you look at venture capitalism or like the money that makes startups like Google or like Snapchat or Twitter or like Quora or like all these companies, the money that flows into these companies and allows for innovation is money that basically comes from like venture capitalism, investment banking, trading, and finance. So like finance also is capable of creating many things, and I think like it's important to remember that too.